everybody. I'm gonna tweet this out. Hopefully this works better than last week. Fingers crossed. Hello, hello. Hi, Heather. How are you? I'm trying to tweet this out and I feel like I can't function right here. Can you guys hear me okay? I know you can hear me. You're in the room.
I heard you fine when I had it.
Is the Prusa too loud? Doing a craft and watching. Ooh, I love crafts. What kind of craft are you doing? Okay, good. I'm glad everybody can hear me. I'm actually filming this on my old Samsung Galaxy S5 because the laptop is pretty hit or miss right now. It's going back tomorrow. I was going to drop it off today, but post office closed today, and so I couldn't do some of my other lunchtime errands, so I figured tomorrow would be a good day to drop it off. So that is happening. But because I have that happening, I don't necessarily think that I'm going to be able to do as much filming and editing on the temporary laptop. So I figured today, instead of just the normal Mailbox Monday, since I haven't gotten anything in the last week, I would do a filament review live. So I hope that you guys enjoy this, and I hope that it's successful. Nick, if you wouldn't mind throwing out questions to me as you see them, because it goes pretty fast on my phone and I can't really look back without, you know, moving my hands and the screen and everything.
I want everybody to know that I do this out of the kindness of my heart.
And because I buy you filament.
That's it.
If I don't know if you can hear Nick, but he said that he does this out of the kindness of his heart, and I said, and because I buy him filament. Some of you may have seen that I posted on Twitter I was having a bit of a problem with the huge spool. I had printed this, which I found on Thingiverse, and it seemed like it would work really well. It spins really easily and really smoothly, but for whatever reason the filament was still getting caught and it was causing striations throughout my whole print. So I asked for some suggestions and people said a Lazy Susan. I didn't have a Lazy Susan, but I have an old heavy-duty cake turntable, so I'm using that, and it seems to be working okay. It's not making clicking sounds, so success. So thank you everybody who suggested that I do that. So yeah, let's just do this. So today's filament that we're going to, does this design incorporate bearings? Yes, it does. It's got one bearing in each side, so there's 4 bearings total. And it spins really smoothly. I thought it would be fine, but for whatever reason, I think the spool is just too heavy. So today we're going to talk about the Proto-Pasta Hi-Fi filament. I've actually had all of my...
Before you jump into that, Travis wants to know what your favorite spirit animal is.
My spirit animal is obviously a unicorn covered with glitter. Duh. Right? What is everybody else's spirit animal? I know Nick's is a bunny holding chainsaws.
Right.
Running with
chainsaws.
2 chainsaws. I don't really know if that's my spirit animal, but it seems like it would fit. Okay, so unless anybody has anything else they want me to answer before I get started, we will just... A sloth? Sloths are so cute. All I think about when I think about a sloth is Kristen Bell
crying
over meeting a sloth, which was adorable. If you haven't watched that video, you should. It's super cute. So we're going to talk about some Proto-Pasta filament. You guys know how much I love Proto-Pasta, and I had mentioned in a previous video that they were nice enough to send me a sample of this before it was released. Oh, happy birthday! Before it was released, which was really, really awesome of them. And then, of course, I had to buy some. And then when I bought some more, Joel threw in a spool. So I have a couple of spools of this, and I have a ton of stuff that I want to print with it. But so far, I've only done the basics of my filament testing. And there are a couple things that I want to mention about this filament in general. But first, let's talk about the filament and what it is. It is the Proto-Pasta HTPLA V3. That is their third version of the HTPLA, which is a lot more, I don't want to say heat sensitive because that's not what I mean, but it can resist temperatures. You can print with it a lot hotter than you would have otherwise, and even hotter than the V2. And it also seems to be a little bit stronger when baking. I did not bake this particular one, but I have baked the natural color that I have of the V3, which has worked really well. I tend to favor it over using ABS when I have things that need to be super, super heavy duty and temperature resistant. If you have questions about the HTPLA, I would suggest watching my video on their matte fiber HTPLA that I did. It kind of runs down what a HTPLA is, how you can heat treat it, and all the things that go along with that. So check that out. I will put a link to the video in the description box below after the live stream. Have I made ears with it yet? Not yet, but it is on my list of things to do. And there will be a specialty one that I'm making just for this. I don't want to make it a standard color, so it will be a limited edition option. So the filament itself is, as the title of this video states, all that glitters. It does have a glitter fleck to it, but it is much more of a metallic glitter fleck than, say, their glitter flake, which is big chunky glitter. So when you look at this one, you're not going to see quite the shimmering effect that you get with the HTPLA V2 of the glitter flake. Instead, you're going to get much more of a metallic shine that has a glittery accent to it, much like a clear coat of a car. You know, you guys know what kind of car I'm talking about. All I can think is in cars when they get all decked out, but I know I'm probably the only crazy Disney person who automatically thinks cars instead of cars in real life. I don't know what that coat is called. Do you know?
Clear coat.
No, the sparkly one.
It's called clear coat.
Is it just a sparkly clear coat?
Sure.
It can't just be called a sparkly clear coat. That's...
Sure. Metallic clear coat?
I don't know. If anybody knows what it's called, let me know. So that is what this looks like to me. But like it's on steroids. What?
Sparkle
dust. That's awesome.
We got Duckroot and Matt saying pearl. So we'll go
okay,
with
so
pearl.
pearl or sparkle dust, either way, you guys know what I'm talking about. It's the super glistening, looks almost iridescent in some light. It's beautiful and adds a huge depth of color to whatever paint it's on. So that is very much what this filament reminds me of, and it's definitely one of those filaments that you do not, it doesn't come off on camera as pretty as it is in person, especially in sunlight.
It's kind of like me.
Right. You don't come off as sparkly.
I don't come off as pretty on camera as I do in person.
So I'm going to run through the typical prints. If you guys have seen my All That Glitters series in the past, there's a couple videos up. I go over 4 different prints that I do. One is the unicorn by 3D Printed Aspie. Then I have a narwhal here. My stand-up keychain, this print standing on the bed like this. And then my laying flat keychain, which prints on the bed like this. And there's a reason why I do those two, and when I get to that point, I will talk about it. But the first print I always start with is the unicorn, and I actually printed this one with the sample that I had. It was my very first print with it, and it turned out fabulous with my standard PLA settings. I printed at 220. I either do 215 or 220 for my PLA, and this was no different, and my heated bed was at 50. All of these were printed on the Trinus. So far I've printed all of my glitter filament tests on the Trinus with the exception of the ABS prints that I'm still trying to dial in the settings for, and that is being done on the Flash Forge. So this printed just as well as I would have expected it to for being a Proto-Pasta filament. No warping, no issues whatsoever. Printed like a dream. There is no stringing. There is no nothing. It is just a perfect little unicorn. And this model is one of my favorite models ever. So kudos to 3D Printed Aspie for creating it. It is perfect. Nick's laughing in the corner, so I'm guessing the chat's pretty entertaining. So this printed as well as I would have expected it to, which is great. I did print this one with 0 infill. Shimmer is smaller than glitter. Yes. Did I miss something? What did I miss? You're not shouting anything out.
No, you didn't miss anything.
Okay.
Although, oh, I'm going to kill this. Ardo Botix asked if you tried Zero Sparkle Stuff.
Zero Sparkle Stuff?
Z-I-R-O-S Sparkle Stuff.
No, I have not. They're the ones that make the marble filament too, aren't they? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they have a marble filament. I have not tried any of their stuff. I will have to look into it. So this is always my first print, and it turned out just as well as I would have expected. Now on my second print, I did forget that I had adjusted the file, so my narwhal settings were not the greatest. The bottom half of it printed at, I think, 245, which was way too hot. And I know on the package, is it on the package or online? It must be online. Online they say that you can print with this up to 250. Unfortunately for me, at 245, I think this was, it is a disaster. It's super, super rough on the bottom. As soon as I drop the temperature, and I will post a picture of this on Twitter and all my other social media, I'll post one on Instagram and on Facebook as well, so whatever you're on, you'll be able to see. There's a definite line where I dropped the temperature, and it went from being super rough and kind of a mess to being just as perfect as the unicorn was. So that's definitely something to keep in mind, although they say that you can go up to 250. I think that would kind of depend on what you are printing and whether or not it would actually need to be up to that high. I don't know if you guys can kind of see. Can you tell? A little bit. So that's that one.
So Jeffrey's asking, the glitter clear coat is what he showed you on Twitter. Is that what you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about the actual like pearlescent look that you get with a car, like when you've actually had a paint job done on a car. Like, for example, in the section in cars, when they all get their retro paint jobs done and go cruising down the newly paved street. That's the type of coat that I'm talking about. And I often you see it in reds, purples, or blues.
Like Vertigo Gray from Proto Designs.
This is more metallic than that. Much, much more metallic. Less glittery. The Vertigo Gray... I know I have something over here in Vertigo Gray. Stand by. No, not that one.
Moments like these.
Stand by!
Moments like these, we need Monty Python intermission music.
Oh, I wasn't gone that long. So... I don't know if you guys will be able to see the difference. The Vertigo Gray has a much stronger glitter fleck to it and less metallic undertones, whereas the metallic color of the Proto-Pasta is much more even. I don't know if that makes any sense. If it doesn't, I apologize. Okay, so when it came to the narwhal, like I said, I did have a couple of settings issues, but once I changed the settings back to my standard settings, they were perfectly fine. So that was user error, not filament related. The reason why I print both a standing up keychain and a laying flat keychain is because of the glitter flake and a conversation I had with Alex from Proto-Pasta. I keep hearing the filament jump from one side of the top to the other, and I keep thinking that it's the filament jamming, but it's not.
Biggie Man Mike had a question. Is it the contrast between the color and the glitter, or is there just less in it?
It's a different, it's not that there's less in it, it's that there's smaller pieces in it. So the glitter in the, I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. The glitter in the Vertigo Gray is a very standard size. And there's definitely a good amount of it in there.
It's like the craft Harpies you would get at the normal store.
The Proto-Pasta, you can see bits of that same fleck size, but there's less of that particular fleck size, and you definitely see a lot more smaller, more metallic flecks. So you've got multiple sizes of smaller fleck in here and more of a standard single size in here. I think that's kind of the best way I can kind of explain it. Like if you look at it, you do see some that are the same size. There's less of that size in here, but there's more of smaller ones as well to give you a more even metallic look to it versus this where you just have the glitter look to it. Does that make sense to you?
Sure, I'm trying to paraphrase in chat.
Okay. I will post pictures side by side so you can kind of see, and hopefully that will help because it is kind of a unique looking filament. I haven't seen, out of everything I've gotten, I haven't seen anything quite as metallic looking as that. I've seen stuff more glittery, but definitely nothing quite as metallic looking. So the reason why I print both something standing upright and something laying flat is because of a conversation that I had with Alex from Proto-Pasta, and he had said with the glitter flake filament that there was, he noticed when he was printing with a smaller flake, you saw more of the glitter when it was standing up, and some of the bigger flecks you saw it more when it was laying flat. So that brought me to think, well, which filaments are going to be better for what? And I found out that the Proto-Pasta glitter flake definitely shows more glitter when it's laying flat. So anything that's printing in large flat surfaces, you will see much more of than any perimeter walls that are upright. I have them here somewhere. No, that's the wrong one. Here we go. No, that's the wrong one too. Stand by. I just really like saying stand by. I do recommend going back and watching my first All That Glitters video if you want a little bit more information on the laying down versus standing up prints, because I talk about these and I show close-ups as to which one looks better. But definitely one is better than the other, whereas with the Filamentum, they were both pretty close, but it definitely, so with the glitter flake, it was a little bit better when it was laying flat. With the Vertigo Gray, it was a little bit better when it was standing up. And with the High Five, it's one of those that really looks good in both ways. I think you get a little bit stronger of a metallic look from the standing upright, whereas you see a little bit more of the glitter fleck when you're looking down on a flat printed piece.
Jeffrey would like to know if you would ever print a glitter Batman.
Sure.
I just commented, is this a full-size glitter Batman?
I mean,
because that would be an awesome challenge.
Only if I can do it in the new... I don't know if that's glittery, though.
As long as it's not George Clooney Batman, we might be okay with this.
I would like to print it in the new Vertigo Galaxy color. But I don't have that yet. I need to get some. It's on the list. Because it looks gorgeous. Classic Batman. Yeah, so I will definitely look into that. I do need some of the Vertigo Galaxy in my life, and I will test that out maybe for that one. So yeah, so this one prints a little bit, it prints well in both. I think you get a little bit more of a metallic look on this standing up, and you get a little bit more of the glitter look looking down on it. So that's just something to keep in mind when you do decide to print. I have not annealed this one yet, so I have not heat treated it to see how it works. But my other V3 that I did worked just fine. It worked no different than the matte HTPLA that I've done a review on in the past. Does anybody have any questions about the High Five Blue? The price, I think, is $29.99 for a 1/2 kilogram spool. That's pretty standard with most of Proto-Pasta's filaments. And yes, it's a little bit pricier in terms of filaments, but Proto-Pasta's filaments are some of the best that I have used and some of my favorites for sure. So I do recommend them if you have the money to splurge on it. How many rolls have I gone through? So far, you are looking at the extent of my prints with the exception of something I'm working on right here. This one was just a test print, and that is it so far. So I've gone through my entire sample spool. I did also send 100 kilograms over to a friend of mine who's just getting into 3D printing, and I thought she'd like to try it. So she has played around with it as well. So I'm about probably halfway through a spool at this point.
So Pooch wants to know how we're annealing it. If you've already said how are you annealing it, just the oven?
So in my matte filament review, I tried 2 different ways. One was putting it into boiling water, and the other was baking it. And putting it into boiling water worked for the most part. However, with the matte filaments, it did leach out some of the coloring and faded it a little bit. So depending on what color you're using, you may or may not want that. Another thing that you have to worry about, it was recommended to try boiling it for more fine, sensitive pieces, but the same thing is still going to possibly be an issue, that you may have a problem with warping and things like that, because boiling water is still pretty harsh. Even though it's not quite as bad as gravity, it still will tend to warp some pieces if you're not careful. The other thing that I did try is baking it in the oven. Again, they both had pretty good results. The bonus is that the color did not leach out of it. It didn't fade. You did have a slight change in color from the baking process, but it was less noticeable in the from the oven than it was from boiling. And to do that, I think they recommended 10 to 15 minutes at 210, 212 degrees, somewhere around there.
So Matt's asking, shrinkage from either method or difference in shrinkage from either method?
I was only doing really small pieces, and there was negligible shrinking. But there was nothing, I didn't try any locking pieces. So I was testing the filament, I was not testing the annealing process, and I wasn't doing a full scale review on annealing Proto-Pasta's filament. Maybe I should do that in the future. But definitely there was the tiniest bit. I think I talked about it in that video. I think there was the tiniest bit of shrinkage in one and the tiniest bit of enlarging in the other. I can't remember, to be honest. I would have to go back and watch my own video. Sorry.
Way to drive the revenue up.
Right, because revenue from YouTube is so much. Does anybody have any other questions on Proto-Pasta filaments in general or the High Five filament other than just stating that it's the coolest color ever? Or is that just me?
Yeah, where's Joe Mike? I feel like we need a comment about the blue.
Anybody? Nothing?
So, what's your favorite Proto-Pasta so far? Asks Matt.
I still think that the glitter flake is my favorite. Yeah. I love the matte fibers because your layer lines just about disappear. I know Nick absolutely loves the carbon fiber.
Yep. Jeffrey just asked that question. I responded.
Yeah, he's
About another spool.
This is all that's left of his second spool of their carbon fiber, and this is their regular PLA, not their HT PLA.
Right.
Right. Because they do have both a carbon fiber HT PLA and a carbon fiber regular PLA.
Had to switch to the atomic carbon fiber PETG, PETG. I'm actually not going to complain about that either. That's tough.
Yeah, so Nick right now is using the carbon fiber PETG from Atomic Filaments. Yeah, I would say still by far my favorite is the Proto-Pasta Glitter Flake out of Proto-Pasta's filaments. I did really like their cinnamon one for the holidays. That was quite nice. It was a very, very faint smell of cinnamon, but I printed with it on Christmas morning because that seemed appropriate, and it was quite lovely. I do still have a ton of their samples that I can play around with, and I need to. Like I have some of their iron, the rustable iron. I have some of the conductive. The carbon fiber 8 through, well, it was a combination.
Yeah, carbon fiber and glitter filament.
No, not glitter. That was a glow in the dark. The glitter filament is actually non-abrasive. But our nozzle was destroyed by, our plated nozzle was destroyed by a combination of the carbon fiber and the glow in the dark filament. We are now working on nozzle number 2. And my guess is, well, I mean, the Pierce has got a hardened nozzle, so that one should last a little bit longer than the plated. But yeah, so it did destroy it, but it destroyed it after, what, a year and a half of use? About a year and a half we had that nozzle in. And for $15 for the nozzle, a year and a half of use to me seems pretty reasonable. We switched to all metal hot ends with plated nozzles almost immediately on the Flash Forge. I think it was the first upgrade we did, and it was after only like 2 months of owning the printer. We just replaced it with plated because we already had an extra plated. We actually took one of the nozzles. The Flash Forge is now basically a single extruder because it was too much of a pain to level the nozzles to be exact. You'd always end up with one just slightly above or one slightly below, and it was too much of a nightmare to use, so we just took one of the nozzles off that we were no longer going to be using and put it onto the side that we were using. So we actually haven't had to buy a replacement nozzle, and I do have one extra nozzle as is. Plus, technically, I could take the one out of the Trinus if I really needed to. So, when we originally got the plated nozzles, the hardened nozzles were not yet available for the Flash Forge. Shh. Was that all I was going to talk about today? Do you remember?
Sure.
Okay. Thanks for that.
I'm sorry, I didn't know that I was now writing for your stream.
You're not writing for it, you're just helping. Hello! Yeah, I like the idea of the ruby nozzle. I kind of want to see how... I wasn't shushing the printer, I was shushing the filament. I want to see some more people use the ruby nozzles for a longer period of time before I can justify whether or not I will be getting one. And I need extra money because I did buy the MK3, which means my bank account hates me and I have no money right now. So I really couldn't justify the cost of a ruby nozzle even if I really, really wanted one. That's really all I had planned for today. I think it went better than I could be expecting. I know that you can get Proto-Pasta from, what is it, Hawk 3D? What is it? 3D Hawk? Hawk Proto. Hold on. Stand by. Let's, Hawk 3D Proto sells it, and he is based out of the UK. Out of Europe, I do not know. I'm not sure. But if you go to Proto-Pasta's website, there is a link to distributors. So you should be able to find a link to somebody near you who sells it. And you may be able to get it from, I'm sure you can get it from Hawk because he sells worldwide. So Nick's talking about Crispy. Crispy is our A-Net A8. It was mine. I gave it to Nick. It started smoking and has been going through a upgrade to make it safer.
Metamorphosis.
Yes. And so far it's getting there. It will soon go back to its place over here where it belongs. But I don't know when that will be. Kind of depends on how much time Nick has to finish it. And me and him, maybe this weekend, we'll be putting together, maybe we'll live stream that. That would be entertaining.
Jesus.
Well, we can't film it.
No, we can't.
So maybe this weekend, I can't guarantee this yet. It might have to be the following weekend. Nick and I are going to
Can't be the following weekend. I have to go to PA the following weekend. I leave on Sunday to go down to PA that
We
weekend.
could do it on Saturday. Anyway, at some point on a weekend, when Nick and I have 10 hours to work on a printer, we are going to be sitting down and putting together the Tron XY, Tronxy, however you say it, X5, as was sent to us by GearBest, and unfortunately their review has been pushed off for way too long because of, as most of you know, computer laptop issues. And other things, and vacations and such. So we are hoping to put that together soon. Originally it was going to just be filmed, the two of us putting it together, but maybe it will be live streamed instead, since I don't really have a computer to edit until that comes back, which I'm guessing will be a minimum of 2 weeks. It's a X5, just X5. Alright, zippy long stockings.
Zip it! Zip it good!
That was just on the other day.
When a problem comes along, you must zip it.
Right. So if anybody has any questions, now is your chance. And then as soon as we are done with questions, we'll go ahead and end this thing. So if anybody has anything. If anybody's wondering what I'm printing right now, it's some more ears. What did that say?
80s flashback. The 80s were a great decade, Llama. Metallic HTPLA versus V3.
What was that regarding?
Proto-Pasta Designs just said it. And we were also asked if we're getting the obsidian from Koba.
I am not getting the obsidian. At least not that I'm aware of. It looked like a decent printer at Maker Faire Bay Area. I don't know if they were at New York. Were they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited to do a comparison of the 2 and the 3, and then I also have a 2.5 kit coming as well, or at least I will as soon as they release that for ordering. Oh goodness, so many questions came through. Let me go back to the Obsidian. I like the way that it was printing. I like some of the options that they had available. It looked like a good out-of-the-box printer, but it's just not something that I think I would need. If somebody wants me to review it, I can look into getting a review unit.
We get a question about how does glitter filament hold up to sand if it doesn't get muted at all.
That's a good question. Stand by. We'll try. Because, you know, I just have glitter filament hanging out all over the place. And I have sandpaper.
While you're looking for that,
Yep. Shoot.
also asked, Matt asked if we got the MMU upgrade yet. I should probably answer that in just a second.
We have not gotten it. I did get a shipping confirmation on it, so it should be here soon. Hopefully. Last time I checked, it was still clearing customs, I would assume that would be.
Also asked if you like the Trinus.
I do like the Trinus. I do need to... I need to dial in some of the settings. It seems to have some acceleration issues. Probably easier to see on this one. So the ribbing that you have on this is much less pronounced if I print this on the Flash Forge, which is completely 100% dialed in. So I think that I need to adjust the acceleration on the Trinus because I think it's blobbing a little too much. I noticed it on some other prints, but it wasn't until I printed this that I realized how pronounced it was on this versus on the Flash Forge. I don't know if you can tell, but there's definitely a difference between the two. Like, you can still see them on this one, but not nearly as pronounced as you can on this. So other than that, though, I do like the printer. I use it for prototyping all the time. It's not something that because of its size, it's a little unrealistic for me to use on the regular for things, plus the needing to dial it in a little bit better, but it does work really well.
Robbie Noel asked, what's the least used / least favorite printer?
I would say I probably use the Trinus the least, but that wouldn't make it my least favorite by any means. It's great for prototyping, like I just said, but really I only have 3 printers, and I use the Prusa for orders. I also use the Flash Forge sometimes for orders, sometimes for playing around. Nick uses the Flash Forge regularly as well.
Always for playing around.
Always for playing around, and then I use the Trinus for prototyping. So I use them all a lot, but I would probably say I use the Trinus the least of the 3, and that's probably because of its size. I saw something for wet sanding versus dry sanding.
Yep. Matt asked if we've seen a difference between wet sanding versus dry sanding.
Well, we can try because I have some wet dry sandpaper.
Prepare for the live demo continued, folks.
So we'll do a couple different sections of this sucker. So it does dull it a little bit. Obviously I haven't wiped this down at all, so that might just be dust.
Also being told that we need to mic me up there.
And we can do that when I'm not on my cell phone. Or my old cell phone. But do I have water? Can you give me water, please?
Stagehand!
Because I only have glittery water, and I don't think that's going to help.
Probably not.
Okay, thanks. Nick's going to go grab me some water so I can
also ask what printer is next on your list.
What printer is next on my list? Aside from the MK3, I don't know. The MK3, well, I can't really test wet-dry sandpaper if I don't have water to test it with. I don't really have any next on my list. A G-Max is always on my list. It's been on my list since I started printing, but I don't really have the funds for it at the moment.
Row stock.
Or the row stock is also on my list. So, what grade is this? 600, 1200. We'll do 600. So it's a... What?
Matt, Swedes, go get water, please.
So those are always going to be on my list until I get them. Maybe someday they will happen. Yeah, definitely a G-Max is on there and a row stock are probably the two that are going to be on there and going to be on there for a while. Any tips for first time printing with TPU? Slow. Go really, really slow. And I think I had to, well, go slow unless you're using the Cheetah Flex, then go normal speed, but otherwise go slow. I did do a comparison video between a bunch of different flexibles, so go check that out as well. It might have some other helpful tips that my brain can't remember right now.
Favorite PLA brand? PLA brand?
That's a tough call because there are so many good filaments. Okay, so there's a huge difference between wet and dry sanding, FYI. I love Proto-Pasta. Proto-Pasta is some of my favorites. Atomic Filaments is some of my favorites. In fact, my favorite black ever is the Extreme Jet Black, which is printing right now. Brain fart. I love Filamentum. They have some really unique colors. There's some that are on my list from them that I don't have yet that I need in my life. But I do have the Vertigo Gray, Gold Happens, and Rapunzel Silver, and all three of those are phenomenal. I also have Noble Blue, and I had a sample of Pearl Blue, and I loved all of them. They're all great. And print like a dream every time. So I would say if I had to say top three, I would probably go those three as my top three for now. For sure. Next.
Mega Man Mike says sand it and wax some clear coat on it.
Yeah, I mean so even with sanding it, it doesn't, because the glitter goes through the entire filament, you can't really sand off the glitter at all. But it does turn a tiny bit cloudy, which you probably can't see. But it is a little more clouded right here. So it does cloud it a little bit. A clear coat would probably fix that.
Matt also suggested after sanding, you try clear coat or lightly hitting it with a heat gun.
Yeah, that would probably help. I'm not going to bust out my heat gun right now, though.
It's right over there.
I know it is. Is it? No, it's right here.
I thought it was.
No, I put it away.
That's a farce.
Yeah, so there you go. Those are the live results. There is a difference between wet sanding and dry sanding. Wet sanding is not nearly as clouded as the dry sanded. But even the clouding is not really astronomical. So there you go.
Oh, the demo stops here.
Well, mostly because my phone is plugged into the extension cord that I would have to plug in the heat gun to. So, not worth it. Sorry. I do not own a 3D pen, so no, I have not. The Trinus is actually plugged in all the way back there, so, and I don't want to accidentally hit the Prusa, which is printing quite nicely, but looking like it's going to be a long print.
The glare from the lamp makes it look like the Trinus is about to be run over by the bypass.
That's funny.
It actually is, now that I look at it.
I can't see because my chat is covering it.
Okay, Repcord is just putting out nasty rumors now.
Okay, what are the nasty rumors?
That I'm not nice to him. It's ridiculous.
Really? You guys have the cutest little bromance.
Damn it.
Hi, Chris. What did you miss? You missed the entire chat about the Proto-Pasta HTPLA High Five Blue. You guys are adorable. Bella's over it. Yeah, you missed Glitter Science.
You did miss glitter science.
We did talk the science behind the glitter. And then you missed the demonstration of sanding glitter prints.
Yeah, there was live demo going on.
Live demo. It was really unexciting.
Glittery pink.
I still don't have that yet. So Philo Alpha has some glitter pink filament, and last time I talked to them they were closing down for a month, and told me to contact them again when they were back, and they got back in September, I think. So I need to contact them because that is one of the few glitter filaments that I do not have. I still have to go over EU Makers. They sent me some. I have the filament PM samples that I need to finish figuring out my settings on. Still having a bit of an issue with the ABS. The closest, the best print I got was this, which has some definite issues down here and not enough top layers. So I'm going to play around with that a little bit more. It's way better than it was where...
Matt's saying if you DM him the address, he can send you, you got some from them at Maker Fair.
Oh, cool.
How did I miss that?
I don't know. Thank you. Yeah, so I'm still working on the Filament PM review. Who's another one? There's one other. I feel like I'm missing somebody. I probably am. I think there's one more, but I can't remember. So sorry to whichever company that is. What am I missing in the chat?
Just more talk about Tricos.
Oh, Tricos. Yeah, I was going to try to design that live on a tri-ended taco live in a stream, but unfortunately with my laptop going back, I don't know when I'll actually be able to do that because the temporary laptop is not... Fusion 360 runs okay on it, but only for short periods of time before it crashes. So... that's a good question, Matt. I know that he did it. I think he opted to not do a video on it. I don't remember. I have not seen a sushi go round. I haven't been able to have sushi in 4 years. I'm tempted to try again, but I'm terrified that I'm going to have an allergic reaction, so I have to watch them like a hawk when they make it.
Some people would get you a Mac.
I would love a Mac, but I can't justify the price of a Mac.
Repcore wants to see a Trico so bad.
In fact, when I got the laptop I considered getting a Mac, and because there's only a $500 difference between the two, but the processor was better and the graphics card was better in the laptop I got, so I really couldn't justify it. I love sushi, but I'm allergic to peanuts, almonds, sesame, and soy, mildly to soy. And a lot of sushi involves sesame seeds, so it's not deadly, but it would really hurt me. So I have avoided it ever since I got diagnosed with food allergies. But in theory, if I went somewhere and watched them very carefully and made sure they were aware of the allergy, I could, in theory, have sushi as long as it was sesame free. It will happen, because I miss it. I actually really like sushi. Yeah, I have to say my last PC lasted a really long time. In fact, I sold it to somebody because it was a perfectly good laptop. It just wasn't powerful enough to run Fusion 360. But it was a perfectly good laptop. In fact, I had less problems with that than I had with this one. But it didn't have a graphics card that was able to handle Fusion 360, and the processor was not good enough. And that one I think was 3.
Which one?
My last laptop, 3 years old, 4 years old.
Yeah, that's about right.
It's either 3 or 4 years old.
So when are you getting an Alienware?
I looked at Alienware, and I couldn't find any that had good enough reviews to justify me spending the money on it. And I didn't have anybody telling me that I should go with it. In fact, I think a friend of mine had an Alienware and had nothing but problems with it. I think it was an Alienware. That's the one by Dell, right?
Dell XPS from Chris. Getting another one about a Razer. If you don't need a huge screen, an XPS 13.
I have a 17-inch screen now, so I'm kind of spoiled by the large screen. And for designing things, having the massive screen is really helpful because I can do multiple things. I can even have multiple files open at the same time without suffering with size of the without having a problem with 2 different screens taking up too little of space. Yes, however, a 17-inch laptop, FYI, takes up the entire tray of a airplane seat. So you basically have to like chicken wing it in to use a mouse. I don't recommend it. And you kind of have to tilt it up on your stomach to be able to see the screen right. But it works. I used it for 3.5 hours until the battery died on my way back from Poland with no problem.
Record is standing by. I'm assuming a MacBook Pro being worth the money.
It may have been worth the money. I just, at the time, I didn't have the extra $500 to spend. How often am I traveling with it? Every time I go somewhere, I bring my laptop. Because I'm always working on designs, editing something, and need to have it with me. So the funny thing is I thought my old laptop was a 17-inch. Really, it was a 15-inch. So I actually meant to buy a 15-inch, and didn't realize it. But it was a happy mistake because I actually love the 17-inch. The Dell Precision Pros are what we have at work, and I am not a fan. Not a fan. We use 2020 at work, which is a very, very painful program, and it takes up a lot of memory, and it slows down a computer like you wouldn't believe. And compared to running 2020 on my current laptop versus the one at work, this one is a million times better. In fact, I hate the laptops at work. Hate them. Yes, cabinet software. I work, I'm the operations manager of a kitchen and bath showroom.
Just go the Chuck method. Just get an iPad. Call it good.
I actually looked into a Surface Book because my brother has one, the Surface laptop, but it wasn't nearly as good either, and you were spending extra money for
yeah, you got to give me a mic saying the Surface 4 is less than impressive, plus the stylus needs batteries.
Yeah, so I just didn't.
And quadruple A batteries.
I honestly looked and looked. I think it was probably what, a good 2 months of looking at laptops before I actually decided on this one. And I actually love the laptop. There's been a problem, and it's a hardware problem. It's not a software problem. It's, all I can assume is either a cold solder or something isn't connected right. And really that's tech support's fault for not double checking the laptop before they sent it back. What brand is it? Mine's a Gigabyte. I used to design kitchens for 14 years. I do not envy you. I am not a designer. I opted to not go the route of kitchen design. I opted to go more the management behind the scenes. I was a design assistant for 2 years before becoming 3 years before becoming operations manager. Anyway, anybody who's used 2020 knows that it is a bear of a program. It's a miserable program to work with because they're so set in putting out new updates for new features that they never fix the features that have glitches in the past. It's a nightmare of a program, but it runs way better on my laptop than it does my work laptop. Yeah, I'm impressed that Chuck does his filming and editing on an iPad. That's amazing. I don't own an iPad. I actually don't own any Apple products at all. In fact, I never have. Ever. Not even an iPod, iPod Shuffle, none of them.
2020 sucks, very limited, like cable vision, or cabinet vision, not cable vision.
Yeah, unfortunately we have how many designers? Using 2020, we have 7 designers, plus 5 design assistants, 8 cabinet designers and 5 design assistants, all who need to be on the same page, or at least where the design assistants need to be on the same page as the designers they work with. So it's really a lot easier for us all to be on the same, and 2020 seems to fit that bill. Our Portland location uses Pro Kitchen, which they're a fan of. I've used very little. What am I missing? Because that scrolled by pretty fast. Anything?
No, anything we want to talk about computers, specs, and such. Seven, keeping up with everything. Need a Hackintosh compatible.
Yeah, I mean, so to be honest, I love the laptop that I got. I've had no problems with it aside from the single hardware issue that should have been fixed when I sent it back the first time, and that to me is a tech support problem, not a actual laptop problem. And to be honest, if Samsung came out with a laptop, I'd probably get that. But I did a lot of research as to which would be a better computer, gaming or workstation type computers, when I bought this one. Samsung does make laptops. Where have I been? I love all things Samsung. Even my Note 7 that was exploding apparently. Damn, should have looked into that. They weren't even on the radar for good computers for CAD work, so.
Maybe that's what it tells you.
Maybe.
There you go. Matt says yes, they do. Just not ones you want to buy.
Bummer. That's too bad because their TVs are awesome and their cell phones are awesome.
Llama saying go to Apple, scroll to the bottom of the website, click on refurbished. Apple actually fixes stuff as they never want to see it again.
I feel like most refurbished stuff is that way. I've bought a lot of refurbished things over the years and never had a single problem with anything I bought refurbished, ever. Because really they have a chance to actually fix all the glitches that are in there and you get a better working product in the first place.
Saying Odyssey laptop, Samsung Odyssey laptop is good. And Mike, Samsung OnePlus, smiley face. Dragon Monk said in Korea it's a shorter list of things they don't make. I responded to a good neighbor.
I just got another order. Hey. I released some ears yesterday. If you guys want to see, they're ridiculous and amazing, and I love them. For those of you who don't know, I sell 3D printed mouse ears on Etsy. And how amazing are these? I love them. They're so ridiculous. They're so big. These ones are kind of heavy. The hollow ones are not. How cute are they? You guys probably aren't as entertained by these as I am.
That said, those are awesome. I was laughing today when I saw them, but it's a cool idea. And Simpkins saying, awesome.
I'm pretty sure nobody would struggle to pull these off. Everybody can do it.
It clashes my ears. No, that I can understand that. Can you fly with those?
I can't. I don't have a feather. I said that earlier to Nick. Yeah, I don't have a feather. But I thought they were kind of cool because on one side they look like the front of an elephant ear, and on the back they're solid gray to look like the back of an elephant ear. And this was the print that I posted on Twitter that had a absolutely perfect first layer that was so pretty. It was a good printing day that day.
Pooch saying he would so rock those.
As you should. They're amazing. There we go. They're a lot of fun. Could totally pull it off. Totally. Yeah. So that's what I've been up to. I know, everybody keeps asking me if I'm going to do a trunk to go with it. Oh, I'm sorry, Bella. I didn't realize you were right there. I'm sorry. I just almost stepped on the dog. I have no intention of doing a trunk to go with it. Although that would make my Halloween costume way easier. Which I'm still not thrilled with.
What the heck is that?
What foghorn noise? Oh, is that my phone vibrating?
Could be.
Sorry. It's my old phone, and to be honest, I can't remember how to turn off notifications.
Colin Hudson asking, ears for Bella?
Bella would hate me, and I like her too much to do that to her.
Mickey Man, my guess, how many door frames have you hit with those?
None, actually, but I felt like I was going to so many times. I turned sideways to go through it, which is ridiculous because they're not as wide as my shoulders, but they feel huge, and I feel like I'm gonna run into things. Yeah, I just don't remember how to turn off. I mean, I guess I could mute it, maybe. Maybe that will help. Bella's costume is being a needy dog. I've never been one to put costumes on my dog. I feel like she would hate me for it.
How about Mrs. Potato Ears?
I could do Mrs. Potato Ears. Figure those out.
Interchangeable push-in pieces.
That's awesome.
I did throw a smart-ass remark in there, kids. Well, maybe, but... What?
Oh.
God, if we had 5 foot 2 doors, I'd be decapitating myself. Go sideways as well. Look, folks. I'd take that as a knock if I were you. You're not that wide.
Okay. Alright guys, well, I can't believe there's still 20 people watching. You guys are awesome. This is way better than the last stream. Which, by the way, has like 400 views somehow. I don't know why you guys are watching that 400 times.
There's something to be said about a shit show stream.
Oh, because it was a disaster.
What?
Yeah, you would.
I could experience with it now.
Alright guys, well it has been a whole lot of fun, but I think we are going to call it a night. I got some orders to put together.
I got a pack.
Nick's got a pack. Thank you so much for stopping by. I think that this worked out pretty well, doing the review. What do you guys think, for those who were there for the review portion? Was it good? I think it went pretty well, and with that being said, maybe I'll do a couple more like that. Because like I said, I do have some. I also have some other filament that I need to test out as well. So doing maybe a live version. Obviously, I don't want to print what I'm doing live because that'll take too long. But to just kind of go over everything, I think it worked out really well. Excuse me. Yeah, right. Now you know everything you need to know about glitter. I mean, except for that it's awesome. And I have a lot of it. Even though Nick hates it. What's an Alice in Wonderland thing?
A smaller door inside a bigger door.
Oh, yeah, it is. Alright guys, well I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your evening, and I believe we will be here. You won't be here next week.
Yeah, well.
You will? On
week.
Monday?
It's the week after that.
Oh, okay, we will be both back here next week, Monday. I'm going to shoot for 7:30 again. Hopefully I will have charged my phone before I start. That's why I was late today, because my phone wasn't charged. So I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see you guys again next time.